you so much for joining today. My name is Juan, and I am one of the domain consultants at Research IT. And along with me, we have Rick, Noah, Aaron, and Chris. These are my colleagues from Research IT. And if you've been to our office hours, you probably have seen them too. So feel free to say hi anytime. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box, and one of us will be assisting you today. All right. So this is the first time that we're running this workshop. So we'll definitely be also needing your feedback towards the end of the session. Essentially, this is an introductory session on what REDCap is all about and how you can use it to manage your research data. A little bit about us. Research IT is part of research teaching and learning at UC Berkeley. Our mission is to be a trusted partner to the campus research community, and we support and develop research IT, provide expert guidance and consulting on research data topics, and work with campus centers, colleges, and other units to build collaborative communities of researchers and IT professionals. So by campus research community, we really mean anyone who's involved with research. It's not necessarily just faculty members, could be graduate students, undergraduate students who are involved with research projects directly. All right, a little bit about us. If you want to find out more, there's a link at the top of this picture that we pasted here. So feel free to check out our website. These are some of the services that we offer. So aside from REDCap, we also do cloud computing support, high performance computing, and so on. So feel free to check this out. And if you go over to our tab, the consulting tab, you will be able to find our office hours details, which are usually held on Wednesdays and Thursdays every week. All right, so a little bit about today's agenda. I'll start off by introducing REDCap, how it differs from other platforms, and why you should be using REDCap as a UC Berkeley researcher. And then we'll move on to introduce to three use cases. These are just a few projects that happened at UC Berkeley, and they had successfully collected their data using REDCap. And then we'll talk a little bit about the features of REDCap, some of the strengths you should know about the software. And lastly, we'll move on into the hands-on session where Noah, my colleague here, will be guiding you and showing you how to navigate with REDCap. So that the last session will be needing access. You will need access to REDCap and account, and as well as a mock project. So if you haven't done this, don't worry. We'll have a short break later on, and we can assist you with this one. All right. So a little bit, just a screenshot of what REDCap looks like. It's a web-based platform, but you can also access it on mobile. So what you're looking at right now is the web-based software. So you can access this through your internet browser. This is the main page. So you would be able to see project home, project setup, and there. In general, there's a lot of things that's going on here, and we want to make sure that by the end of this workshop, you'll be able to navigate yourself around and understand the main features in creating your own survey. All right. So REDCap, you probably have heard of Qualtrics, Google Forms, and you may have used this before. So REDCap is slightly different in such a way that it supports P4 data. So what P4 means, it's at the highest level of security data classification. And we will also drop the link to through which you will be able to see more details on what P1, P2, P3, P4 data looks like according to UC Berkeley. And this will be very helpful for you to decide for your research if you haven't if you haven't identified the data classification level, this would be a good way to determine if REDCap it's suitable for your research needs. In terms of file upload, REDCap, Qualtrics, Google Forms can do this. But there's one thing that I would like to highlight here in terms of the branching and logic building in REDCap. We believe that REDCap has a really good amount of flexibility in terms of designing the survey. So if you intend to have different questions for, say, for example, if one question is either a yes or no question, your yes, so those who answer yes could be led to a different set of questions, and those who answer no, you can lead them on to answer a different set of questions. So we strongly believe this is one of REDCap's strength. You can also do reporting by using ad hoc reporting tools, and this is really customizable by your side. So in terms of like working with maybe you have research partners from all over the world in another time zone, and you require them to submit a report to your end before a certain date. So this can be easily done through the system itself. Also, like Qualtrics and Google Forms, we do have email notifications if you have a new data coming in, or in case, say, if you have you would like to receive a report by a certain time, you'd be able to get notification via email. In terms of data piping, essentially, REDCap and Qualtrics have this too. And the survey distribution tools are also not too different from the other two. However, I would like to emphasize that REDCap is well integrated with Twilio. And Twilio essentially helps you to connect with your target study participants via SMS. And we feel this is also one of the strengths of using REDCap. So you wouldn't have to think about a separate process to reach out to your target audience. And aside from SMS, you can also do voice reminders, and that's really cool. So can you customize the REDCap form? Yes, you definitely can. And one of the things that we like about this customization that REDCap offers is that you can create complex longitudinal design. So this is one of the, one of your concerns when it comes to building a survey. And if you're thinking about doing a longitudinal study design, we highly suggest considering REDCap. Yeah, so that's pretty much like what REDCap, how REDCap is different from Qualtrics and Google Form. And a few examples from UC Berkeley researchers who've used REDCap. This is from School of Public Health, a PhD candidate who used REDCap to collect data on soil pathogens. And so if you see on the right side of the screen, the research team utilized a mobile app. So you wouldn't have to bring your laptop around to collect this data. And also I want to add to that you can also collect data and design your survey offline. And we'll get more into the details later on. And this is another UC Berkeley affiliate researcher. They were conducting the association between smoke exposure among firefighters and COVID. And this was done during the COVID period. And our third use case is by Dr. Dalla Prada from School of Public Health and UCSF. So what they did here, they collected protected data, and as I mentioned earlier today, Qualtrics is great at collecting P4 data. And so this is one of our role model, like a really great example on how how your research needs in terms of collecting protected data can still be achieved by using REDCap. All right, so some features of REDCap, you've heard some of them already. such as P4 data collection, which is really great. And I mentioned briefly about doing offline surveys, and we feel this is good, especially if you're thinking about conducting your studies where the internet connection is not great or limited. So, by having consistent access to your REDCap instruments, you would not be able to have any gaps in collecting data, especially those that are time sensitive. And then you have logic gate questions. So your survey can be as complicated or as simple as you want. And REDCap, I'd like to mention this, REDCap is actually was designed by researchers for researchers. And they're really great at doing this. Language modules, I want to highlight that there are several languages that REDCap can support. So what this means is if you're thinking about collecting data from maybe you have research team or you partner with people who speak Spanish in one of the Latin American countries. So you wouldn't have to manually translate anymore. So with REDCap, there's actually a feature that will be able to help you just essentially doing what Google Translate does. So we feel that this is really helpful, especially maybe for those who are conducting studies in multiple countries. So some of the languages that we see, so there's Spanish, there's French, and Portuguese. But the language modules are always updated, so we might see more languages being featured as well. And then I mentioned briefly about Twilio text notification, but there's also another feature that REDCap offers, which is calendar scheduling. So you wouldn't have to, I mean, it's good to have things automated. So it helps you to make sure that you're consistent with your proposed timeline. To perhaps for some data that is time sensitive, you wouldn't miss the opportunity, and make sure that you meet your research needs. And lastly, we at Research IT are here to help you, to provide extensive support to you. And we have connections to the other researchers who use REDCap at UCSF, and as well as through other with the rest of the world. So REDCap isn't just limited to UCSF or UC Berkeley, for your information. REDCap actually started from Vanderbilt universities, and there are many academic institutions from all over the world, over 100 of them, have adopted REDCap as a platform for data collection. All right, so that's it from my end. However, I would like to remind you all, if you already receive approval for your practice project, don't forget to download the links, the materials from the Google Drive link. And if you're still waiting for your project's approval, please let us know. One of us will be able to assist you with this. But if you don't intend to create any project, that's fine too. Feel free to observe. There's definitely a lot of things that you can learn from the hands-on session. And I shall pass this to Noah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Everyone, yeah. Let us know if you're having any trouble with the links, downloading those during our break. After that, we'll proceed on to the hands-on portion. to answer just a couple questions that are coming in. There's no fee that you have to pay. This is available for all UC Berkeley researchers. That's to answer Catherine's question. And to answer the next question here, we don't need to upload anything just yet. We're just going to download it. We're going to walk through everything together. And if you don't have a project, that's okay. I will share my screen and we'll go through everything together. We'll also have video available for people to walk through, and then you'll have the slideshow that walks through the same steps that we're going to walk through together as a team. Okay, so I think that's 3 minutes. Let's move on now to navigating REDCap. So if I could have everybody proceed to this interactive REDCap demonstration, you do not require a project to fill out this survey. So you can type in tinyurl.com/cal-redcap. That link will be put in the chat as well for everybody. So I'll just give a moment for everybody to navigate to the survey. Okay, so if you're following to the survey, follow along on your own screen as I narrate. If you'd like to just watch, you can just watch me. This is what a REDCap survey looks like. This was created by RTL and Research IT here to walk through individuals in every type of user input box and survey functionality box that REDCap provides. So we can see that we can put in images into these surveys, into text fields. We can format text any way that we want. Here we have text that's not visible. You can format through HTML into these different modules, these like block sections as you build out the survey. There's short answer fields that we can build these surveys or instruments in. Note boxes allow individuals to put larger amounts of text in. These questions also, some you can provide, you can stipulate that individuals have to provide a value. So that's one question that's built out here. These volume buttons here indicate text-to-speech, which allows increased accessibility for users who may have difficulty reading the survey. Since I filled out this box here, I can provide any value that I want. I'm going to go to the next page. This is a multiple selection field type. It has a drop-down box where you can select an answer here. When you build these out, then you can select any type of answer that you want as you build it. As we can see here, this is answer 1. The answer from this can be piped into text or questions into the next or later fields or even earlier fields. This is very helpful in longitudinal studies when individuals have maybe a name that they're greeted with every time after they fill out their name the first time. This is a multiple choice field. This is very similar to the drop-down list here, but this just provides a visual representation of all the answers. We can see here when I click these buttons, then there's piping, this piping that happens where individuals are shown different questions based on questions that were answered prior. And so this is built out with a little bit of that Boolean logic that we'll go into later in the REDCap interactive session here. So I'll just do this one because it's very weird. Talking a little bit more about that Boolean logic, we have a multiple selection format question here where you can select different questions. Now, I set this as having this box here only approve with a correct if the correct cells are selected. So we have to select both of these, and the logic, therefore, has this question shown here, this text box here. And now that that's done, we can move along. Binary fields are simply two answers that are given, a true and a false, are similar to that. Here's some more branching logic. There's lots of documentation since REDCap's used extensively across multiple universities and institutions. There's helpful documentation out there, in addition to documentation on our website that guides you through a little bit more on this branching logic that we talked about today. Some special field types are the signature field type, where individuals can sign something. Individuals can upload files to these surveys, and that these surveys can be taken as the creator as an instrument. Say you're doing the type of research where you're in the field and inputting data yourself into these, or these can be administered to larger populations where individuals can upload data to these under their own identifier. Sliders are also unique here, where individuals can give more of a qualitative answer, which is then translated into a quantitative text. This can be hidden, and that text, that numerical value, any numerical value, can be acted on through math or character concatenation later on in the survey, which allows individuals to not only show text or characters that were put into the survey earlier, but also interact with those fields to then make more complicated things later. So this has some maths here with 38, I think that's times 17. Okay, this concludes this REDCap survey. This is the same new user instrument we had individuals download earlier on in our presentation. So you do not need to download this again, but just be sure that it's in the zip file format so we can upload it into REDCap. Going back to our slideshow here, we walked through everything in the slideshow, which is everything that we went through in the survey created for everybody. And now we're going to proceed to the REDCap interface. So if you have a REDCap project that's been approved, then you can follow along with me. If you don't, feel free to watch my screen. We'll be doing everything together. So I'll just give individuals a moment to follow this link here. It's also shared in the chat. Okay. And if you're here, then we should see a screen like this. It's a little bit confusing. We'll have to click on this login using CalNet ID, which is just a smaller button. And once you're logged in, then you should see this home page here. This home page has new projects and my projects. If you've been approved for a project already, then the project should be under my projects. We'll proceed to this and this top tab up here to my projects. The project that was created should be listed in this My Projects list. My project here will be Noah's project. We'll proceed into this. Proceed into your own project that was approved for you. This brings you to the project home. Now, the project home has a lot of different project settings, which allow the instrument to be turned into a survey. And the survey can then have distribution options such as Twilio or longitudinal studies that allow individuals to time when surveys are released. And surveys can be built from multiple instruments. So a single instrument is what an individual builds, which then can be shared through a survey. We're going to be uploading an instrument, which is that new user instrument, the same thing that we went through earlier today. Together today. We're going to proceed to this designer button here on this left-hand bar. So if we click on designer, then we should be brought into here. Now you will not have an instrument built out just yet because you have not uploaded anything, but we'll upload one together. through the upload file here. So if you click on this, this is where you'll be able to upload the instrument zip file. And so if we could just share that zip file one more time, if individuals may not have it. But you'll take this and browse and drop in this zip file to create an instrument. Now, I already have my new user instrument, so I won't do this, but this should take just a few seconds to upload, and then you should have something very similar to this here. So I'll just give 1 minute for everybody to catch up if you're uploading an instrument. And please, if you're behind, please put questions in the chat. Okay. So if you have the instrument uploaded, you should have a number of fields. These are the number of items that are built out in this instrument. This instrument is enabled as a survey, which allows distribution of this survey to individuals. There's actions that you can use with this survey, renaming, copying, deleting, downloading instrument zip, which I did prior to our class today. There's some survey settings, and this allows individuals to change the way the survey is distributed. But we'll focus primarily on building the survey today. So if you click on building on this survey name here, this brings you into the online designer for the survey. And as we scroll down, this is exactly the same survey that we went through, except all that branching logic is now forced in a linear format. So we see all of the questions that are built out here. Participant ID is a unique identifier for each individual that takes the survey. If there's a longitudinal study, then each individual that takes a survey for the first time will be given the same participant ID across the longitudinal study. Text fields are fields that just allow individuals to put HTML formatting text in. This is also a text field, but I put an image. I uploaded an image into the field in addition to text. The rich text editor allows you to change a lot of these things. If we click on this pencil button here, this is where you can edit these fields. So clicking on this opens up this field editor where we can see a lot of these easy to understand text formatting. Yes, Rick, you have your hand up? Oh, you're muted there.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying, I'm noticing that 2 people are having troubles uploading the XML file. So maybe we should just continue, and you'll be able to follow along from the recording, afterwards. Because I think at this point you've already moved on pretty far, I think. Okay, yeah. The recording will be provided, and the slideshow kind of guides you through it too. And we're always happy to help here as well. So this text editor allows you to input text. So uniquely, each field has to have a variable name, regardless of if individuals put in answers into the text field. So variables are always needed for this, and this is for tracking purposes. If text is altered or answers are altered over time, you can call on text or answers from previous questions or any question in the survey to then fill in objects later. So that's one requirement here, which feels a little bit funky if you're not actually having a user input anything here. We'll save this. We didn't change anything. But as we can scroll down, then I'll increase this zoom a little bit too, just in case if there's trouble seeing. We have a notes box, which allows larger text input, smaller text input, and a text box. This is another descriptive text box here. So the same thing we've seen earlier. Multiple selection fields here, and multiple choice. So this is where we'll talk about some of that branching logic. Going into this editor here, we have the text that's used to build out the question. And this is where individuals are able to put in the text for the answers for this question that individuals are able to select. Answers are given in numerical identifiers, which can then be called on later as variables for branching logic, which we'll see in a second. So for 2, the answer selection 2 has the tuft deer be the input. Keep in mind, this is multiple choice 2 as the variable name. If we cancel out of here, we go to the tuft deer. It says branching logic multiple choice 2 equals 2. So when an individual selects this second answer, the answer number 2, then that will have this branching logic show this as the final result, the next thing in line for that answer. We can see in branching logic here that this is built out when multiple choice 2 equals 2. This is where you edit that. So to build out a survey question where individuals have these 5 answers that they can put, then I have branching logic for 5 different possible outcomes here. Similarly, the branching logic for the stop and correct earlier has individuals select numerically identified answers, so 1 and 3, which are then piped into the branching logic later on. So the branching logic here has if checkboxes is 0 or 0 or 1, then the stop will show. And only if the checkboxes 1 and 1 are shown, so this is answer 1 and answer 3 are true, and this is 0, will the correct box be shown. So you can see it gets a little bit complicated over time, but there are other ways to build the logic if you don't want to write it in. There's the drag and drop builder that allows you to be able to select. Oh, I can't do that because I already have logic built out here, but this allows you to select the variable answer that you want to be a part of the branching logic as in this question. And so I think I use that even for building out this, just because it's easier to see some of the variable answers that you have here and to be able to build it out without actually writing in the answers yourself. We have some more branching logic here for showing help questions. We have in the edit section here, we have required. This will prompt individuals to actually answer the question if it's asked. And identifier, this is unique as well. Because REDCap allows P4 data, then we have to be able to understand what is protected data and what's not protected data. If a field is set as an identifier, then there are additional options when you download the data to protect or hide this so individuals can do analysis on it without the higher level security protections in place. Okay, and that brings us to the end for how to build this survey. We are more than happy to help, and there's lots of resources online for you to follow through resources and help. So we have some REDCap documentation built out on our Research IT website. This puts together our own expertise in REDCap in addition to REDCap resources that are available on the REDCap website, on their official website here. We talked a little bit about where REDCap's used. On their website, in addition to our website, we can see all the different locations that REDCap's used. So these are a lot of the different institutions that are using REDCap today. So very large network, very large support network. and you have us here too. So I'd like to open it up for the research IT team to just say some final remarks.
That was great. Thank you so much for joining us. So feel free to check out our office hours if you're interested in using REDCap for your research or still considering just join us at the office hours, or if you can't make to the office hours, our email is here. Just feel free to also email us. We'll be happy to assist you in your research journey. Thank you for joining us, Lauren.
If there are any questions or anything you'd like to go over a little bit more, we still have some time, so we're here and we can field those.